I'm going to start with an invitation that we understand that the United States of America is fundamentally racist, it's sexist, it's class oppressive, and the economic institutions are destroying the planet that we depend upon for life itself. That's serious. And if we're going to be serious in our response, if we're going to be commiserate with the challenge before us, we have to recognize that the U.S. Constitution is the, quote, supreme law of the land. It is supposed to be the codification of our social contract. And so we believe that the Occupy movement is a phenomenon. It is a social movement. It is a force. And if you go to Occupy sites across the country, you will find that opposition to corporate personhood and money in elections is uniting Occupy sites all across this country, right? And so we believe that Move to Amend is a concrete campaign. We do not purport to speak for Occupy. However, we work with Occupy. We don't speak for, but we collaborate with. And it's that respectful approach that has allowed us to be able to work so effectively. On Friday, January 20th, 111 actions across the country at federal district courts calling to abolish corporate personhood, including the U.S. Supreme Court here. The Constitution, broadly understood, really talks about two actors. The first actor is the most important. It's the first three words of that document.
We the people.
We the people. Those are hallowed words in this country. We the people come together to create government. We the people are described in this document as being free and sovereign. And the word sovereign means the authority to rule, the power to rule. In the framework, we the people have the authority to rule. Government does not rule. Government is not sovereign. Actually, government is subordinate and accountable. Government is a subordinate to whom? The people. Government is accountable to whom? The people. I kind of like how that goes. It's got a ring to it, right? We the people are free and sovereign because we have rights. Government does not have rights. Government has duties. The difference between rights and duties is profound. You see, if you have the right to do something, it means you could damn well do it. And you don't need government permission. You don't need the society's permission. An individual right is sacrosanct. The U.S. Constitution doesn't create rights. It recognizes rights. Pre-existing rights, natural law rights, human rights. Government does not have rights against the people ever. Government only has duties, and a duty legally means a responsibility. And where do government duties come from? Well, remember this, all power is inherent with the people, so power to the people. People having power is profound. It is wonderful. It's magic. However, we know that in Washington, D.C., the population is 600,000 people. So I will relish the fact that the community of Washington, D.C. has all the political power, or should. But I'll tell you something. I don't want to go to the meeting of 600,000 people where the decision is made about where to put stop signs. And I like to go to political meetings, but I'm not going to that one, right? So the people have all the power, but the idea is that we delegate a certain amount of power to government. How much power do we delegate to government? Only enough to perform the duties that we have said that they are supposed to perform to begin with. When you look at it this way, isn't this beautiful? The people have all the power. We are free and sovereign because we have individual rights that are sacred, that cannot be violated. The one thing that government cannot do, the majority can never do, even as it's delegate, or even as it is doing its duty, can never violate your individual rights or my individual rights. So individual rights are supposed to be protected. This is beautiful. Isn't that fantastic? We should try that in this country. This would work. And I'm not even joking. The brilliance of the idea of a democratic republic is profound. But before I go 1 second further waxing poetic about the brilliance of the U.S. Constitution, time out. Somebody tell me what year the U.S. Constitution was ratified and becomes the supreme law of the land. 1789 is the answer. And the reason I want to put this date up here is so I can ask this important question. In 1789, who gets to be a legal person with rights under this document? White men, landowners. Literally, to be a legal person, which means the ability to assert these rights, you had to be white, you had to be a man, and you had to be a landowner. The problem is not in this framework. The problem from the inception of this country is its implementation. Because here's a quick little pop quiz. Do you know what percentage of the adult human population could actually claim to be persons under our U.S. Constitution in 1789? What percentage? 4%. 1%. Let's keep the 1%. You know what? You're too cynical. This gentleman is more close. It's 5%. But literally, think about it. 5% of the entire population could actually claim the brilliance and beauty of this document. Another way to express that percentage, of course, 95% of the adult human beings could not actually lay claim to the Democratic Republic and the promise. The entire history of the United States, and history requires a lens to look at it. And the late, great Howard Zinn, may the goddess rest his soul, Howard Zinn said, the most important lens to look at U.S. history is as a series of struggles by actual human beings to be defined as persons with rights under our Constitution. That's so important, I want to say it again. The entire history of the United States has been a series of struggles by actual human beings to be defined as persons with rights under our Constitution. And that's why the idea of corporate personhood is not only so important, but it's so vile, so disgusting, and is such a threat. Because check it out. Is this helpful? Does this actually make sense of how our country is supposed to operate, right? Isn't this what we were taught in elementary school or junior high about how our country is supposed to operate? But we know it doesn't operate this way because concentrated capital has hijacked every single one of our institutions. And as a lawyer, I'm here to tell you the legal system has been used to legalize that theft. And now, because this framework is so important, it is the idea of what we've been taught in the creation myth about what we have. And God bless the Occupy movement because it's actually allowing us to have real conversation about how power really operates. So now, let's actually look at the most dominant institution on the planet today, and certainly in the United States, which is the transnational corporation. We know that today, to create a corporation and a corporate charter, all you have to do is file a piece of paperwork and dot your I's and cross your T's, and you'll be issued a charter. How long can your charter last today? Forever. What can you do with a corporation under law? Literally, I'll quote, all lawful things, anything legally permissible. Now, some of us say, well, apparently if you've got enough money, you can do a whole bunch of illegal shit, right? But I'm just pointing out that the whole idea of the corporation today, we don't even think about properly controlling it. In 1789, yes, patriarchy existed. Yes, slavery and the disgusting institution. Yes, genocide. But the instrument of the corporation, check this out. In order to create a corporate charter, you had to actually get a bill passed in the lower house and the upper house of your state senate and your state house, and then the governor had to sign it. That's just the mechanics. And you had to prove that there was a public need that was not being met by existing economic practices or by government. And if you were given the privilege, not the right, but the privilege to incorporate, do you know how long your corporate charter would typically last? 5, 7 years, and then it automatically dissolved. And if you wanted to continue to have the privilege, not the right, but the privilege of limited viability, you had to go through the process all over again. The point is, it takes governmental action to create this entity through a chartering process. That charter can be used to hold the corporation subordinate and accountable. That charter describes the duties. It should only exist if it's acting in the public interest. Properly understood, a corporation must be on this side of the line if the Democratic Republic has any meaning. And here's the payoff. When the U.S. Supreme Court comes in and says, oh no, we're going to say a corporation is a person with rights, it perverts the whole framework. Bottom line, corporate personhood is not just a stupid idea, which it is. Corporate personhood isn't just illogical, which it is. Corporate personhood is the legal linchpin for how the ruling elite have hijacked our democratic republic from us, and then they've legalized it and told us that we are not allowed no matter how big our movement is, we're not allowed to do this. So the move to amend coalition is a multiracial, multi-ethnic grouping of individuals, organizations across this country that says, ya basta, enough already. We are taking ourselves seriously. We are building step by step, intentionally and deliberately, a nonviolent revolutionary practice and ethos. We are going to the ballot box in order to pass ballot resolutions calling for a constitutional amendment and instructing existing representatives to do so. And at the end of the day, I suggest this. In 10 years, the Constitution will be amended, and this country will look as different today as it did before slavery or after slavery. The Congress, the people, the rhetoric, the policies being proposed out of that institution will be that different if we take ourselves seriously.
Maybe you said this already, but this Friday there's an event called Occupy the Courts, which is in support of this particular movement to amend the Constitution. It's happening right here in D.C. and also all over the country. If you can stick around for 3 days and occupy the Supreme Court here in D.C., please do. Otherwise, occupy the federal court nearest you.